Derek is an amateur speaker trying to build his professional career. He is a former Toastmasters International President and a champion speaker. He's dynamic, he's entertaining, he's a lot taller than I am, and he brings us a blend of humor and humanity. So welcome, Derek McGrattan. Just going to do a little housekeeping here initially, just to get some space here. See, I travel with my own mic stand, I know how tall I am. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. Maybe I should move it a little bit this way. It just feels like the room's a little lopsided to me. And I better get here. That's so you can keep track of me. So a few little things just to get out of the way initially. I do move around a lot up here, and so I will apologize initially. Some of that is just so you don't confuse me with this guy. But some of that is also because there is a lot of energy running through this thing. So some of it's just for me, so I don't spontaneously combust. It's also so I feel like I get a chance to connect with you folks a little better. And that's really what today is all about. So I'm hoping we're going to go on a journey today. I'm going to go on a journey. It's always a lot funner if you come along. This is my absolute favorite place to be. Not here particularly, since this is my first time here. However, standing in front of a room of people with a microphone talking is my absolute favorite thing to do in life. Which makes me a bit of an anomaly, I understand, considering that fear of public speaking is the #1 shared fear amongst people. Not for me, not since my early days on Romper Room, or as class valedictorian, or to Toastmasters International Speech Contests. Any opportunity I get to talk, I take it. But I'm not that picky about audiences. It's not a shot at you folks. I spend most of my days talking to a room full of court-ordered men and women teaching an anti-violence and abuse program. So for me, it's always a nice change to have a voluntary audience, a group of people not here on court mandate to listen to me. So that's always really nice. Now the plan is by the end of this, hopefully you will say, I laughed, I cried, it was better than cats. Now, I understand most of you, or there are a number of people here today that are retired. And maybe get a show of hands. Okay, and a number of you are volunteers. Again. Right? And some of you are just here for the free food. That's okay too. That's okay too. Now, retired volunteers, that's an interesting bunch to me. Because the way I see it, you could be doing nothing. But instead, you give up your time, your energy, your hearts, and your souls, and your work for free. Funny thing about that, I'm a social worker, so I already essentially do that myself. It's work for free. I might even start referring to myself as a retired volunteer. At least you get a free lunch once in a while. Now, I also know a little bit about retirement. Some of that is because I fantasize about one day actually being able to afford to do it, but also because my mom is retired. And she spends, so perhaps you volunteer for the same reason she does, because she's always volunteered to take the grandkids off of our hands. But it also grants her the right to refuse work at any given time, like all winter when she's in Florida. Which makes my mom a snowbird. And that's funny to me because that was my dad's thing when he was still alive. My mom wasn't sure. I don't know if I want to get tied down to one location. I'd like to travel and things like that. Now she can't wait to get back there. The first sign of cold weather, oh, time to go to Florida. And that last call before she goes usually goes something like this. So I'm leaving in the morning. Oh, I'm going to miss the kids so much. They're just so amazing and I love them to death. And Emily, I'm going to miss her too. She really is the daughter I always wished I had. Well, I think that's everything. just can't wait to get down there. She's made so many great connections, which is what's so amazing about it. In fact, some of her and Dad's closest friends from here now have places in Florida as well. And that's something I think that your generation does a lot better than my generation, is maintain those close personal contacts. So when she's down there, she likes to FaceTime. Anybody that's not aware of what FaceTime is, or Skype, it's that video chat option on your phone, your computer, tablet, things like that. I think it's amazing that we have technology that lets us do this. You know, see people in real time. She just can't get enough of seeing those grandkids. Now, I get to see her too, occasionally, which is great. It's just usually she saves that for when I pick her up from the airport when she's renewing her insurance. She saves those video chat calls for the days I work late. Mind you, it hasn't changed in months, but I digress. I know my mom loves me. And in fact, if you were to ask my brother, he would tell you I'm the golden child. Now, if you don't know what a golden child is, you may know it by a different name, but essentially, the favorite one. And if you have kids, or you have siblings, you may have a golden child, you may be a golden child. I mean, we certainly know the non-golden child wouldn't be here volunteering their time, if you know what I'm saying. But at this stage in your life, it may make sense why you have a golden child. You know, they're the ones that call and visit and help out and generally care. And the other one, the social worker in me is going to go with, they show it very differently. Like calling when they need something. Usually money. That would be my brother. Now, I'm not trying to say my mom doesn't love my brother either, because I know that she absolutely does. What I am going to say is that when we were younger, if he had gotten lost, it's not that they wouldn't have looked for him. Just might not happen right away. But don't get me wrong, I love my brother. He did teach me to play baseball. Or at least that's what he told me we were doing when he lined me up against the house and throw baseballs at my head. Which kind of makes sense that I didn't stick with baseball very long. But I'm also 6'5". So it kind of made sense that I would play basketball. But being 6'5" is not all perks like playing varsity basketball at York University. Yeah, I was a yeoman, which I mean, realize means nothing to most of you here today. Just having a moment. But in order to understand this story, you need to understand that I was born with what I like to call TVG, the vertical gift. Now, I weighed 11 pounds, 3 ounces, and was 23 inches in length. I'll let that sink in for a second. So, essentially, I already didn't fit in to the outfit my mom wanted to bring me home from the hospital. On a side note, that was probably a good thing because they had been told all along I was going to be a girl, and I'm not sure how that pink number would have looked. But while my toddler years, I progressed at a slower rate. And there was actually concern for a little while. I was going to suffer a far worse, yet much more common condition. TVC, the vertical curse. Like my 5'5" grandfather, a few of you here today. But that didn't last long. And by the time I started school, I found my place at the back of the class, in classroom photos, or awkwardly positioned in group shots. My mom, though, she wanted me to have a normal life. She wanted me to fit in. I think she used to even say, my boy Derek is going to have the same opportunities as everybody else, or stupid is as stupid does. It was one of those. But that's why at an early age, they introduced me to things like volleyball and basketball. Popular amongst the TVG community. Gave me a chance to run and play and interact with other kids more my size. And in some of those early years, I got to sit in the front row for photos. That didn't last long either. And one year in high school, it became extremely difficult to fit in to anything. I grew 5 inches that year. 5. bringing my height to 6'3", full-fledged adult TVG. Be mostly looking down after that. I had to learn a lot of tough life lessons that year. Even if I had had a love of horses, career for me as a jockey, crawling through caves as a spelunker, I don't think so. Did you realize I have not relaxed in a bathtub since then? And had to quickly develop my own version of aquatic Tai Chi just to wash my face and hair in the shower. And having TVG has affected all aspects of my life. The basements I enter, the cars I buy, the close-knit relationship that I have with my chiropractor. It has also affected what it simply means for me to be in a crowd. It's impossible to remain inconspicuous. And though it's true, if I get separated from my friends, I am usually the first to be located. It becomes hurtful after a while, constantly hearing other people using you as a beacon for their friends. Yeah, meet us by the tall guy with the goofy hat. Oh, can't miss him. It has also affected what it simply means for me to go shopping. Because there is not a trip, not one trip that goes by that I don't witness some person, somebody, standing alone in an aisle, looking up. It's an item they want. They need it. They desire it. But cannot reach. And that's when they contemplate a number of Darwin Award-winning techniques. Maybe I'll step on the bottom shelf. Maybe I'll wheel the cart over and balance on the edge of it. Perhaps I can knock it off with something close by. And that is when I'm obligated to interrupt my shopping experience, and with a little stretch or strain, get the item for them. Having TVG has affected everything. In fact, prior to your arrival today, I fixed some curtains. It's transferable. Now, the hardest part, I think, of having TVG has come now that I have kids. And the concern I may have passed the TVG gene on to them. And they'll struggle to fit in. So I remind them things like, there's no such thing as a bad view at a concert or a parade. In fact, we don't even have to get there early most of the time. Statistically, they say tall people make more money in the workplace. I'm not sure when that kicks in exactly, but how many tall people does it take to change a light bulb? Normally just one. Yeah. Not my best work. Apologize. Now, I met my wife, Emily, while I was in high school, going through the TVG transition. That was a long time ago. Maybe not by some of your standards, but give me a break. By today's standards, it had been 21 years ago yesterday that we would have updated our Facebook status to say, in a relationship. If we had any idea what Facebook was back then. Now, for most of the ladies in the room, I'm sure you can tell how I won my wife's heart. Perhaps my boyish figure. Perhaps not. I like to believe it was the year we had biology class together. She got to see my demonstration of the velociraptors hunting wild. I may not have been that, but I know she took notice. It could have also been the time we had co-ed phys ed together, and she got to see my line dancing skills. I'm not going to go there, I don't want to injure anyone in the front row the way I did her that day, but all right, let's just say it might be a bit of a mystery why she fell in love with me. And you're just going to have to take my word on it, that eventually she actually agreed to marry me. And we're about to celebrate our 13th wedding anniversary together. 13 amateurs, right? Some of you? Yeah. And eventually, she did agree to marry me, but not before we lived in a barn. I said barn, actually not far from here, Mount Pleasant. No running water and no heat. Made winter mornings very interesting. And ironic, because I was a big fan of Little House on the Prairie growing up. A few people will know. I never envisioned living like the Ingalls, but we did it for 3 years. Now, the romantic in me said, it just wouldn't be appropriate to carry my new bride across the threshold of the barn, so we eventually moved into an apartment just before our wedding. And we got married, had a beautiful reception with all of our friends and family. Party went from into the wee hours of the morning, went from the reception hall back to our apartment. It was a good thing we knew the landlord for the number of people that showed up back at our apartment that night. But it didn't leave a lot of alone time for my bride and I. And later that day, a few hours actually, we boarded a plane for the Dominican Republic. A week in the sun. Now, on a social worker's income and an early childhood educator's income, we hadn't been able to afford anything real extravagant. No ocean view room. But we arrived to this beautiful resort. We checked in, dropped our luggage off, and we went out to explore. We'd never done the Caribbean island thing before, so bartering was a whole new experience for us. I'm not sure if anybody here has experienced these bartering individuals, but they can be pretty pushy. Punching numbers into calculators and shoving it in your face. You like, I give you a deal, you like. Nope, just trying to walk by. Now, it was all very confusing. Some friends gave us some advice. Go 6 times lower. Go 4 times lower. Go 8 times lower. I had no idea what I was doing, and I'm going to blame that on why I almost bartered my wife away on my first day. And I wish that wasn't a true story. We had wandered a long way down the beach, in and out of huts, off the beaten path. And we stumbled across one of those huts that offered the whole Caribbean hair braids with beads. It was our honeymoon. I may or may not have had longer hair at the time. Consider myself a progressive individual, so we may or may not have bartered for a 2-for-1 deal. There's one photo, don't ask me. But here's the problem. When we set out on this journey, we hadn't planned on buying anything. So we didn't bring any money with us. They were just so good and relentless at this bartering stuff that we couldn't say no. So the deal was, once I was done, I would go back to the hotel and get the agreed upon payment. Well, my hair is much shorter, so I finished much quicker. Checked in on Emily's progress, and then headed for the hotel. And I'm not sure how many steps away I was, 2, 3, when it dawned on me. I had just left my young, beautiful bride in a hut somewhere in the Dominican Republic, about a half-hour walk straight back to our hotel for some money and some Coke. Now, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, but I can run like the wind blows. So 7 minutes later, I returned, covered in sweat. Emily has no idea what is going on. And in one hand, I have the money, and in the other hand, I have 2 bottles of ice cold Coke Classic. Because there was no chance I was bringing them back warm pop. Now luckily, that exchange went well. I got my bride back. But I did not share that story with her until we were on a plane on the way home. But I did not take my eyes off of her much after that. Now eventually, we slipped back to the hotel room. We hung the Do Not Disturb sign on the door for what we had envisioned as a little alone time. And I don't want to belabor this point, but I do feel that it is important. We hung the Do Not Disturb sign on the door. That's really where I wish this story ended. But sadly, it does not. Because when I emerged from the bathroom, expecting to be greeted by my bride, I was met by a lovely, non-English speaking housekeeper with a handful of fresh towels. Not what I was expecting. And by his reaction, not what he was expecting either. Now, something else I did learn that day, that apparently being walked in on, in the nude, on your honeymoon, is equivalent to one ocean view room upgrade and a free lobster dinner. I learned a little more about partners. Now, by the time we left that resort, I was pretty popular. In case you haven't figured out, I'm pretty outgoing, so I get involved in the activities and the shows and stuff. And in fact, some of the staff there had started calling me crazy chicken legs. Which I thought had to do with my dance skills, but as I was working on this, I realized it may have had more to do with that initial interaction than I thought. Now that was a long time ago. A lot's changed since then. Like I said, almost 13 years now. And we have 2 kids now. So in case you were worried, we did get that alone time. But a lot has changed. 2 kids. And back in the day, I went there, old cliche, but when I was younger, I didn't understand when my dad would say things like, "Oh, I slept wrong last night." I mean, you're sleeping. How do you do that wrong? That's what I would do. Now that I have 2 kids, I gotta say, I wish I knew the phrase, "I slept right." Now, it could be on a weekend, when the kids go to my mom's for a sleepover, when she's not in Florida. But my daughter is almost a teenager now. So I'm pretty sure my chance at sleep is quickly running out, especially with the way things are these days. Now, I know the world my daughter is growing up in is vastly different than the world I grew up in. And I can only imagine for some of you here today as well, with computers and Wi-Fi and tablets and smartphones and all that stuff. It's all very confusing, all very overwhelming. And on that note, I apologize, but normally when I do something like this, I turn it right off. And I left it on vibrate for whatever reason, and geez, it's just been vibrating like crazy. So just bear with me for 1 second. Now that it's out though, I kind of feel like I should get one of these. I just don't mind in the front row here. Let's post one of those to Facebook and we'll get right back to things, okay? No? Isn't that one of the most annoying things about our current generation? The social network generation, the selfish, pardon me, selfie generation, but very different. Now, I remember when we got our first computer. I was like 10, and it was this fancy typewriter with a TV. And that's essentially what we used it as. My mom did some typing on it. My dad and my brother and I got to play some stick figure games on it that weren't entertaining by any means, but it collected more dust than anything. It went days and weeks without getting turned on, and it was not an integral part of our lives. And then in high school, it started to change. And it became mandatory to turn in papers typed out either on a typewriter or a computer. And it was around that same time we got our first internet connection. The old, the kind you had to announce to everybody in your house, stay off the phone and try and use the internet. And it would just randomly disconnect for no reason, and you never really knew if you were connected. Back up. And then somewhere along the way, it just sort of happened. I'm not sure when. The next thing I knew, I had cable internet. No more bebop booping. I had email, which became an ever more popular way to communicate with people. I have 5 email addresses now. I don't know why I have 5, but I do. Most of the stuff that comes to them is useless, especially the work stuff. I'm sure some of the people here can confirm that. I used it to do research and to not go to the library. Mind you, my grades may have reflected that, but it was a part of my life. And then I got a cell phone. And then for reasons that I will never understand, people stopped talking on cell phones and started sending little messages. Well, that got hard to do on the old phone. Good thing it wasn't that anymore. But that got hard to do. And so, being a progressive individual, I got a smartphone. Well, I like to think of myself as a good Canadian boy, so I got a BlackBerry. That turned out to be a mistake. And eventually, I got my iPhone. And now, this thing is in my pocket, or by my bedside, or just outside the shower, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I know that is sad. But I feel like I do it just to try to stay connected, somehow. Stay relevant, so to speak. But now I'm dating myself. Now I sound old. Because I remember when we used to dial 7 digits to make a phone call. Some of you probably remember 5. And some others may have even been there when Alex was making that first call. But that one was for me. When you work on something like this, occasionally there's a joke that you just can't let go of. That was that joke for me, so I apologize. I picture somebody that I wanted to say it to. But moving along, I thought the purpose of all of this stuff, computers and cell phones and internet and all that stuff, was to connect us. Make us more connected. But what I see is so many people with less true connections. By show of hands, how many people here today have had at least one meaningful conversation with somebody? Not just about the weather, but a real conversation. Let's see it. Okay, just about all of them should go up. Hey, you want to know the sad thing about that? The number of hands in the air would continue to drop the younger my audience age gets. Yeah, pretty sad. Soapbox moment, all right? We're gonna get serious for just a quick second. We as humans have a built-in need to connect with people. And if we don't connect with people, we will connect with something. That something can be addictions, like drugs and alcohol. It could be gambling, it could be food, it could be bingo. It could be shopping, technology, video games, pornography. We will connect with something. There's an interesting study. It says since the 1950s, the number of close friends that we maintain has continued to decline. And at that same time, the size of our houses has continued to grow. Meaning, we've chosen floor space and stuff over people. Material possessions over connections. There's a Harvard study on child development that says that every kid is one choice, one decision away from becoming a statistic. That same study says that every kid is one healthy connection with an adult from reaching their full potential. Now, a bunch of you are sitting there and say, hey, yeah, why is he telling us this stuff? Because you guys know it. You're already out there. You people are the ones out there giving up your time, your energy, your hearts, your souls to make those connections. But there aren't others. And it's getting out of control. So I guess the reason for bringing that up is to ask for your help today. All right? So hear me out. I'm an idea guy, or at least I like to think I'm an idea guy. So my first idea was a little bit controversial. And I realized while I was working on it that I might have been taking the promotional poster a little too literal about keeping you in stitches. Because it had something to do with making it legal for one day a year, just one, to beat the kids. But there are CAS workers here today. It goes against the core of my belief system as well, because I teach an anti-violence and abuse program. So that one was off the table. But that is when it did hit me. And not literally, but it hit me. What if? What if we used a tried and tested method? Good old reverse psychology. Hear me out. What if we embrace technology? we just immerse ourselves in it, we use it like crazy, we think it and act like it's cool, they might start thinking it's lame. Go back outside, start meeting people again. So I've done some research, and I'm gonna give you some suggestions, some things we can all do. And the first one being, get yourself a smartphone. If you don't have one, get one. All right, it is imperative. There are a lot of brands out there. So I'm not going to endorse any, at least not until somebody pays me to do so. Until then, I'm going to remain neutral, although I might stay away from BlackBerry, just saying. Texting. Start texting everybody. Text your friends, your family, your kids, your grandkids. Send them all kinds of text messages. All right? Now this is the confusing part. There are a lot of acronyms out there, a lot of LOLs and OMGs and FOCLs. Either learn those or type in full sentences. Okay? Now initially, if this is new to you, maybe double up on the arthritis medicine initially. Okay? Using your thumbs this much can be tiresome. Okay? It's important. I'm thinking of you, thinking of the children. Okay? Facebook. This is a big one. Get Facebook. If you don't have it, get it. Talk to one of your neighbors here today. Somebody in the room has it. They know how to use it. They'll get you hooked up. It is important to post everything. Tag your kids. Tag your friends. Tag your grandkids in everything. Okay? Apparently, it is cool to take pictures of your food now before you eat it. Okay? Post that stuff too. Okay? Now this is an important one. Link all of this stuff to your smartphone. Make sure it comes in with obnoxious sound bites and ringtones at all times. Okay? Constant beeps and buzzes coming out of your pocket is a must. Okay? Now there are a couple of things out there that I don't fully grasp yet. Twitter, Snapchat, and Tinder. Okay, Tinder I think is something about meeting people or hooking up. So what I'm thinking here is let's just all mass join together and then we can flood them out. Alright? And then this is the key. When out with other people and you have a chance to make real connections, text people that aren't there. And I'm certain we could pull this off. But we gotta figure out the damn TV remote first. Okay, I'm talking from compassion here. I was the original TV remote in my family. Alright? But I don't understand why I've got 4 remotes for one television. Or why my 7-year-old knows how to work them better than I do. And I would call my neighbor for help. I don't know when we started using 10 digits to call our neighbors. In fact, I don't remember when we started calling our neighbors. I remember when you went to your neighbors and you said what you had to say to them. I don't know about you folks, it would freak my neighbors out if I just showed up at their house these days and asked for some sugar or some milk. It would freak them out even more if we used my dad's technique of just knocking on doors, walking in and hollering, "Are you decent?" Mind you, many of the times in my childhood, they were in fact not decent. That's probably best left between me and my therapist, though. However, it could be the answer to our problems. As a speaker, as a Toastmaster, I was often taught it's a good idea to leave your audience with a challenge. So maybe here it is. The next time, you're a volunteer driver. You're attending a meeting. You're walking by a meeting you weren't invited to. You're visiting your kids. Your grandkids, you're walking by a random neighbor's house. I want you to just walk up, knock on the door, walk in, and holler, "Are you decent?" It's a whole new way to connect. Think of the stories, folks. Think of the stories. Better yet, think of your family's reaction. "Oh my God, we are not sure what's wrong with her. She came home from a volunteer appreciation banquet and just started walking into random neighbors' houses hollering, 'Are you decent?' We do not know what's wrong." I'd love to hear the stories, because perhaps I could work them into a future show. And I guarantee you would change your reputation in your neighborhood, your building, your agency. Folks, I want to leave you with this. I do think that it is extremely important that we do learn how to embrace technology. We do need to learn how to use it and access it to be able to connect with them. Because guess what? They're not going to stop, and they're just going to keep creating more stuff. So if we don't figure out a way to stay involved, we're going to get left behind. But we've all got stories to tell. I've sat around here today, and I know there are stories to be told. In fact, this is a really nice change for me. But if we don't tell those stories to somebody, nobody gets to hear them. So if you have to walk on in on them and holler, "Are you decent?" make them put it down, because they will thank you when they can't. And if that doesn't work, you can always get them to pull your finger. That one was for my dad. Folks, this has been a blast. I hope you've had a good time. I know I have. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You certainly were excited to have him come, and it'll be an interesting challenge. I'm the first one to come home with my pajamas on, so my volunteer drivers, knock. But what I'm going to have everyone just do one more round of applause for Derek. We appreciate it.